SNAP and Medicaid recertification doesn't just test your eligibility. It'll respond to specific requirements on a schedule which can affect how you plan your next step. If you've ever felt pulled to click, delay or comply for the easy win instead of the dopamine loop doing the hijacking can keep escalating long after the deadline's gone. Dopamine loops hijack judgment by rewarding the brain for just enough progress, even when the reward signal comes from something unrelated. In classic work by Wolfram, Schultz and colleagues, monkeys learned that a reward cue starts firing dopamine neurons, not when food arrives, but when the brain predicts it is about to arrive. Dopamine here acts like a prediction error calculator, so your nervous system treats cues as proof that the next step is working. Notice how your mind treats a tiny signal as certainty. When SNAP or Medicaid recertification asks for documents, you may get a dopamine bump from one small checkbox, like logging into your portal. The brain reads that as a cue that a reward is coming, even though the full set of requirements is still missing. That cue makes your attention feel lighter, and it nudges you to stay in the same low-effort mode. Bias shows up in everyday life too. A phone notification can make you feel like you are doing something, even when you are only responding to a distraction. Recertification paperwork can work like that, because the portal progress screen looks like forward motion, while the real work waits in a pile of forms. The result is a judgment shortcut that feels like momentum. Present bias turns recert deadlines into a dopamine trap. Behavioral economist David Laibson studied how people weigh immediate rewards more heavily than future rewards, even when the future reward is objectively low. In his framework, a now wins because the mind uses a shortcut. It downshifts the importance of time. Track how the reward shift changes your reading of the deadline. If you can watch a short video or finish one form section today, that immediate relief feels valuable. Recertification, on the other hand, pays out later, after approval, and the brain discounts that payoff. Your judgment then starts treating the deadline as a vague threat, not a concrete. You see the same mechanics when a grocery list keeps getting rewritten. The money you save by buying in bulk is a future benefit, but the immediate comfort comes from checking items off the easiest parts first. Availability makes some errors feel unlikely and others feel inevitable. Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman showed that people judge frequency and risk by how easily examples come to mind. If your newsfeed is full of stories about a system's failings, that pattern becomes an easy mental retrieval, even when your own situation is different. Consider whether recent stories make your paperwork feel safer or scarier than it is. During SNAP and Medicaid recertification, you might search for reassurance and get a clip about someone who got through late, or a post about someone who lost everything fast. The story can spike salience, meaning it grabs attention, and attention drives decision-making. Then your plan stops being about requirements and becomes about the most memorable narrative. Almost done as a real psychological accelerator, and it can backfire with paperwork-heavy benefits. Kivetz and Simonson studied the goal gradient effect, where motivation rises as people get closer to a goal. The brain treats proximity as proof that effort will soon pay off. Notice how a progress indicator can feel like completion. A recertification checklist, portal status bar, or an email that says we received your application can create a proximity. Your dopamine system reads that as closeness to reward, and motivation spikes toward whatever activity keeps the closeness feeling alive. That is where entertainment-style tactics exploit you, because they offer quick hits that maintain the "I am nearing it" sensation. Think about a video game quest. The moment the health bar looks low, you feel driven to keep going. Even if you are missing essential steps, like buying the right item for the next boss. The final push feels like the correct choice, but it can still fail if the plan was never complete. Recertification can fail for a similar reason. If you chase the fastest feeling steps, you can reach a false finish line and then hit a rejection notice later. The brain then learns the wrong thing, that the loop itself is rewarding, not that the full task is truly done. Variable ratio reward schedules train you to keep returning, even when the outcome is uncertain. B.F. Skinner described how animals press levers more persistently when rewards arrive on a changing, unpredictable scale. That unpredictability is powerful because it prevents the brain from settling into "this is pointless." Track how uncertainty keeps your attention stuck on the portal. When benefits portals, call centers, and status updates send irregular pings, your brain starts waiting for the next. If an entertainment app or a better habit feed also fills that waiting window, the nervous system can start treating attention itself as the reward. Then, paperwork becomes something you squeeze between reward bursts rather than something you complete as a single project. In everyday life, this is like slot machines and raffle tickets. You might walk away after a clear loss, but you keep playing when near misses feel like they are leading somewhere. Recertification stress works like that, because an incomplete packet still generates occasional, maybe it is finer signal. The dopamine loop forms when the cue is frequent. The reward is partial, and the payoff is delayed. With SNAP and Medicaid, the payoff is eligibility, but the brain is being trained on smaller wins that do not guarantee approval. Defaults can steer behavior when people face complex decisions under time pressure. In a famous line of work by Eric Johnson and Daniel Goldstein on default effects, changing the default option moved outcomes dramatically, even without changing the underlying facts. Defaults work because people often accept the path of least mental effort when stakes feel confusing. Notice how the easiest next click can override the right next step. Recertification often mixes digital and paper steps, plus language that assumes you already understand the system. If you default to check messages, watch a quick reminder video, or follow a template, your brain may treat those as the required work. The attention loop then prizes familiarity over correctness. Imagine choosing a streaming show with the autoplay default. You start watching because it is frictionless, not because it matches your goals for the evening. Benefits recertification. Autoplay can look like automated links, saved forms, and quick tips, but the real goal is submission of the correct information by the correct date. When dopamine loops meet defaults, judgment can shift from requirements to the mind. On careful verification, because the default path feels like progress even when it does not complete the task. The policy reality is that millions face churn when Medicaid redeterminations resumed after the COVID continuous coverage rule ended. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services called this period unwinding. And the major data summaries track large. Kaiser Family Foundation reported early 2023 and 2024 trends, showing hundreds of thousands of people losing coverage during the redetermination wave, with churn tied to paperwork and missed steps. Consider how administrative delays can feel like a judgment, mistake, or a glitch. When a caseworker requests documents and the portal sends updates, you can start treating recertification as an ongoing drama rather than a finite deadline task. Dopamine then attaches to the constant checking, because each status change feels like a new clue. In daily life, it is like refreshing a delivery app every few minutes. Each refresh can create hope, even when the package is not moving. With Medicaid, can create a similar emotional spike, and that spikes attention away from the slow work of assembling documents and confirming details. The documented churn makes a key point. When recertification turns into a moving target, your attention gets taxed, and dopamine cues start driving behavior more than careful judgment. Social feeds deliver rewards through likes, comments, and shares. The rewards are not guaranteed each time, which makes them especially sticky. Variable feedback becomes a cue that tells your brain, I keep checking. Something good might appear. Notice how your mood tilts after you refresh. And dopamine-linked reward learning. Cues that precede potential approval gain power over what you do. Social comparison also adds fuel because your brain constantly searches for signals of status or belonging. In recertification stress, social feeds can become an emotional regulator. The feed offers distraction and a sense of connection, which can feel like coping, but coping can steal the time you need for forms, uploads, and deadlines. When a better habits creators promise calm through social routines, they can drag the same system deep. The promise sounds gentle, yet the attention pattern stays cue first. Judgment gets replaced by checking, and checking replaces finishing.